Before the rallies, the lawsuits, or the headlines, Donald Trump was just a kid from Queens, raised by a father who believed discipline was everything and a mother who watched the world from the quiet corners of wealth. His story didn't start on stage. It started in a house where power wasn't given, it was expected. This isn't a biography, this is a war map. From childhood to real estate, from TV to now the White House. Trump's life is a playbook on power, conflict, and legacy. And understanding where it started is the only way to understand where it's headed. Before Trump ever stepped on a campaign stage, his story was already being written in the walls of the Brooklyn and the silence of his family's dinner table. His father, Fred Trump, didn't just build homes, he built systems. He made his fortune turning post-war America into suburbs, stacking bricks into neighborhoods and profits into power. No nonsense, no emotion, just discipline and domination. He taught Donald that the world didn't give out trophies, you had to take them. Fred didn't raise his son to be comfortable, he raised him to be a winner. Dinner was business. Weekends were job sites. Even when Donald was young, Fred took him to construction zones, had him watch the workers pour concrete, measure walls, shake hands with buyers. It wasn't school, it was training. And then there was Marianne, Donald's mother. She wasn't loud, she wasn't flashy, she was steady. She came to America from a tiny fishing village in Scotland, chasing a life she couldn't even fully picture. She was soft-spoken, faithful, and believed deeply in the idea that anything was possible in America if you didn't quit. So Donald Trump grew up between two forces, a father who made power the priority, and a mother who gave him the belief that he could become something greater than what everyone expected. He learned how to be tough, he learned how to charm, and he learned how to turn silence into a strategy. But Donald wasn't the kind of kid who blended in. He pushed buttons, challenged teachers, he had a mouth, a presence, a certainty most kids just didn't have. One day, he punched his music teacher in the face. No one remembers what the argument was about, but that moment told everyone something important. This wasn't a boy who followed the rules. This was someone who challenged the world to keep up. Fred saw the fire, and instead of trying to cool it down, he sent Donald to a New York military academy at 13 years old. It wasn't punishment, it was a test. A place built on rules, routine, and structure. Most kids cracked under that kind of discipline. Donald did not. He climbed. He cleaned his room like a drill sergeant, shined his shoes like he was going to war. He earned medals. He took command. And by senior year, he was captain of the cadets. People respected him, not because he followed orders, but because he made decisions. He wasn't a soldier, he was just a leader. At military school, he learned something that he never forgot. That power isn't about how loud you talk, it's about how clearly you see the target and how fast you move when everyone else hesitates. By the time he walked out of the academy, Trump wasn't trying to find his place in the world, he was already planning on how to own it. Because he didn't just want money, he wanted a skyline. And his next move, it was going to make his last name untouchable. After military school, Trump had options. Hollywood had his attention. He loved movies, charisma, lights, all of it. But when it came time to choose, he didn't choose fame, he chased leverage. He enrolled in Wharton at the University of Pennsylvania, one of the toughest business schools in the country. He wasn't just sitting through the lectures, he was reading land deals, walking blueprints, learning from his father firsthand. While other students were partying, he was flipping real estate projects in the Queens. The numbers weren't sexy, but the profits were. And then he looked up past the boroughs, past the bridges, straight at Manhattan. Queens was safe. Manhattan was a war. And Trump didn't want safety. He wanted the skyline. He wanted to play it where the light. He wanted to play it where the giants played it. So he crossed the river, and that's when the empire really started. He started buying buildings no one wanted, rotting hotels, empty lots, properties people were scared to touch. But he wasn't guessing, he was reading the future. He'd find a dead asset, inject it with capital, marble, and energy, and make it sparkle. Then he'd slap his name on it, Trump in gold. Not because he was arrogant, because he understood marketing better than anyone else alive. Trump Tower was the masterpiece. A skyscraper on 5th Avenue with black glass, gold elevators, and a waterfall in the lobby. He didn't just build it, he curated it. It was part casino, part museum, part power move. He built a penthouse on the top floor that looked like Versailles collided with Vegas. Every detail screamed one thing: I'm not like you, I win bigger. People mocked it. They called it over the top, tacky, a circus of wealth. But they came anyway. Tourists, CEOs, athletes, foreign leaders, because deep down, people don't hate success. They want to be close to it. And Trump didn't apologize for excess. He turned it into a spectacle you couldn't stop watching. That's when he figured out something most billionaires never understood. America doesn't just buy products, it buys identity. So he built a brand out of himself. Trump vodka, Trump ties, Trump steaks, Trump water, hotels, casino, books, board games with his name on it. He wasn't owning all of these businesses. He was licensing his name. He let other companies pay to use the Trump Trump brand, while he sat back and watched the royalty checks stack in. This wasn't luck, this was leverage, and no one played the leverage game better. The media laughed, late night hosts took their shots, but they couldn't stop talking about him. And every time they said Trump, his name got more valuable. He wasn't just a businessman anymore, he was the face of American ambition, loud, unapologetic, global. He turned capitalism into a character, and America couldn't look away. So when people ask, where did Trump really come from? It wasn't the classroom, it wasn't the campaign trail, it was Manhattan. He took over the skyline, and the spotlight followed. But the biggest move wasn't real estate. It was what came next when Trump stopped building towers and started building power. Trump was already rich, already on magazine covers, already building hotels, towers, casinos, golf courses. He had power, fame, controversy over everything. But when he stepped on that soundstage for a little reality show called The Apprentice, he changed everything. It was supposed to be entertainment. Instead, it turned into the most powerful business branding campaign in television history. 14 seasons, hundreds of millions of viewers. You're fired became a cultural weapon. Boardrooms became battlegrounds. And Trump, he became the face of American success. Suits, gold cufflinks, the skyline behind him. But this wasn't just ego, it was strategy. Every week, America watched him make decisions, close deals, and call the shots. He wasn't playing a role. He was showing the country what leadership looked like. It was calculated, was ruthless, and decisive. People didn't just like it, they actually craved it. And when the credits rolled, they believed he could do it in real life. He used the show to build trust, to plant seeds, to make the name Trump mean something bigger than wealth. It meant power and control. And when the camera stopped, he didn't disappear. He stepped off the soundstage and walked into a bigger stage, politics. In 2015, he came down the golden escalator. The media laughed. The politicians rolled their eyes. Nobody takes it seriously until the crowd shows up. Packed rallies, national attention, people chanting his name like he's a rock star. He didn't hire PR teams, didn't sweet talk Wall Street, didn't take marching orders from the party elites. He lit the playbook on fire and started from scratch. Build the wall, drain the swamps, bring back jobs, America first. For the first time in decades, working class Americans felt actually heard. They didn't care about polished speeches. They cared about factories reopening. They cared about someone finally saying what they were already thinking. And that was Trump's edge. He didn't just talk to voters, he spoke like them. CNN said he'd lose in a landslide. The polls were against him. Even Republicans distanced themselves. And then November came, and the impossible happened.
The winner of the presidential race, CNN projects Donald Trump wins the presidency.
I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory.
He won. He flipped the map, and he shattered the old political machine. For 4 years, he governed like he campaigned. Fast, loud, and unapologetic. Tariffs on China, tax cuts for businesses, immigration policies tightened, energy independence returned, and in the middle of it all, relentless media pressure. He never folded. He thrived in the fire. 2020, a pandemic, a media storm, ballots mailed in, Twitter exploding. The world felt like it was on fire, and Trump was right in the center. The press, they declared him done.
Winning is easy. Losing is never easy. Not for me, it's not.
The left celebrated. The headlines said it was over. But Trump doesn't leave quietly, and he sure as hell doesn't retreat. He stayed in the spotlight without holding office, kept doing rallies, kept pulling crowds, kept building his influence. He launched his own platform, backed candidates, shifted elections, and reminded America every single day that he's not going away. He watched inflation eat paychecks, watched the border lose control, watched foreign policies crumble, and said one thing that made the country sit up again: I'm not finished. So when they thought he was out, he was actually reloading, not for attention and not for revenge, but for a second round, because the fight wasn't over. And Trump, he's never been more dangerous.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
It's the summer of 2024, and the country is boiling, financially, culturally, and politically. And in the middle of that storm, Trump walks back onto that stage like he never left. He's not softened, he's actually sharper. He's not begging for applause, he's demanding results. He's not asking to lead America, he's telling it to get back in the fight. And then Pennsylvania, a bullet slices through the air, cracks through silence, and leaves the world breathless. He bleeds, he doesn't fall. He stands, one hand clutched to his ear, the other raised in first, bleeding red, white, and unshaken still. The moment doesn't just break the internet, it burns into the consciousness of every country looking for someone who won't flinch when things get violent. He doesn't flinch, he leads. The shot didn't just hit him, it hit a movement. And instead of silence, it roared back to life. This isn't a comeback tour, it's a mission to restore a country that's been humiliated, weakened, and hijacked by people who don't even seem to like it anymore. When Trump says, "Make America great again," it's not a catchphrase. It's a warning shot to every corrupt system that's gotten too comfortable. Because here's what they don't want you to remember. He already did it. Record low unemployment, energy independence, border security that worked, global leaders who actually listen, peace deals that no one thought was possible, all under a man who was supposed to be just a celebrity. And now he's back, not to finish a campaign, but to finish what he started. Not to prove a point, but to rebuild the whole damn system. This time, he's not just running with a message, he's running with a scar. He's running with the proof that he's willing to take the bullet most people never could. And if he's willing to bleed for this country, are you willing to back him? The media scrambles, the elites panic, but the working Americans, they're watching, they're remembering, and they're waiting. Because in a nation drowning in broken promises, Trump is the one figure who stands there, bloody, unbroken, and ready to rebuild it all. If you already made America stronger once, if you already bled for the fight, then there's only one question left, is why wouldn't he do it again? At the end of the day, this isn't just about Trump, it's about a country that got lost and the one man who never stopped trying to bring it back. You don't have to agree with everything he says, but if you care about results, about strength, about actually turning this around, then you'll already know the next chapter isn't just about him, it's about us. If you got value from this video, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.